You are not short on time, you have wasted it. That is not an accusation. It is what Lucius Annaeus Seneca, one of the wealthiest and most powerful men in ancient Rome, concluded after decades of watching how people actually spent their lives. And it is the opening argument of what may be the most important essay ever written about time. Seneca called it On the Shortness of Life. He wrote it around 49 AD, and the central claim he makes is this: life is not short. It is long enough, more than long enough, for anyone to live fully and well. The problem is not that we are given too little time. The problem is that we throw away most of what we are given. He wrote that people guard their money carefully. They resist when anyone tries to take their property. But when it comes to time, the one thing that cannot be replaced, the only resource that once spent, is gone forever. They give it away freely to anyone who asks. To meetings that could have been emails, to obligations taken on out of guilt, to distraction, to noise, to busyness that feels productive but accomplishes nothing real. Seneca had a word for this kind of life. He called it a vita occupata, a busy life. And he was scathing about it. A busy person, he said, is not a productive person. They are a person who has allowed other people's priorities to colonize every hour of their existence. Think about the last week of your life. How much of it did you actually choose? How much of it happened to you, pulled by obligation, by notification, by the feeling that you should be doing something even when you did not know what? Seneca's answer to this was not to do less. It was to live more deliberately, to ask of every commitment and every hour, is this how I would choose to spend my time if I were fully aware that time is the one thing I cannot get back? He was not talking about productivity. He was not telling you to optimize your schedule. He was saying something deeper, that most people reach the end of their lives and discover that they never actually lived. They were always preparing to live, always waiting for the right moment, always planning for a future that kept receding. The Stoics had a concept called memento mori, remember that you will die. But Seneca's version was more specific and more brutal. He did not just want you to remember death in the abstract. He wanted you to look at how you were spending today and ask, if I found out I was dying next week, would I be doing what I am doing right now? If the answer is no, and for most people, for most hours it is no, then the question is not how to be more productive. It is how to stop volunteering your life to things that do not deserve it. This is not about grand gestures. You do not need to quit your job or move to the countryside. Seneca himself lived in Rome, at the center of power, surrounded by noise and obligation. But he was deliberate about it. He chose his commitments. He protected time for the things that mattered: reading, thinking, friendship, writing. Not as hobbies, as the actual substance of his life. The practice this week is simple and slightly uncomfortable. Look at your calendar for the next 7 days. Find 3 things on it that you did not actively choose: obligations taken on from guilt, habit, or the inability to say no. Then ask honestly, What would happen if I did not do them? You do not need to cancel them this week. You just need to see them, to recognize that your time is not infinite, that every yes to something unimportant is a no to something that matters, and that a life spent busy is not the same thing as a life well spent. Seneca died at 65, ordered to commit suicide by the Emperor Nero. By all accounts, he faced it calmly, because he had already thought it through. He had already decided what mattered. He had already lived deliberately. Most of us still have time to do the same.